Happy Wargame Wednesday. Come on in, pull up a chair. The Daily Dope is in the air. Howdy, 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 gang. Yes, I'm Jeff McAleer, back once again as your host here at The Daily Dope, presented by thegaminggang.com. Today is Wednesday, April 3rd. It is a Wargame Wednesday. Today I'm actually going to be doing a bit of a how to play and reviewing Zombie War, which is from my friends over at Tiny Battle Publishing. So that's coming up in just a little bit. Looks like some folks have been hanging out in chat ahead of the show. So Robert Moffat has been popping up with a bunch of little chat items because I'm doing a zombie game review, and it's like, zombies. Oh, this is pick the wrong week to stop smoking cigarettes. Hey, it's like, hey Jeff, zombies. Surely you can't mean zombies. And a Justo Perez, who is a newbie to chat, says 7 p.m. Now what? Well, now you know what. So today is episode 276 of the Daily Dope. As I mentioned already, this is a live stream, very, very casual. Just share some tabletop gaming news, sometimes a little pop culture stuff, and usually there's a game unboxing or review. So, like I said, very, very casual. As you can tell, there is chat available through YouTube. It is not on screen. It's one of the ways that I keep some of these stranger commenters at bay. But I do pay attention to the chat. So if you have a question, or maybe you just want to say howdy, or maybe there's something about Zombie War that you'd like to get a better look at or an explanation of, by all means, please chime in and I will respond. Hey, Glenn Darren's popping in. Yes, and Rob Moffat is still hanging around too, so... and Justo Perez says can't get enough of Zeds. If you're a big Zed fan, then definitely check out Dawn of the Zeds from Victory Point Games. They've got another Kickstarter. I think it's gonna launch soon for a new edition of Dawn of the Zeds. It's just I believe it's just a reprint of 3rd edition. So Robert Moffat says, I do mean zombies, and don't call me Shirley. Yes, I had thought of saying that. But then I thought to myself, well, what if people don't get that airplane reference? They'll be thinking, what? What is he high? Is he smoking something? What's going on here? All right, so, whoa, as something almost falls over here. Yeah, I have stuff stacked all over the place here in the Duct Tape Studios. Camera seems to be off a little bit today, too. Let's see here. There we go. Must have bumped it. I might have bumped it earlier. All right, so Justo Perez is like, first time here, loving it. Well, I don't know. Don't get too excited, because it might go downhill really fast. But I do want to point out that if you watch the video and you like it, please give it a thumbs up. If you check out some of the videos on the Gaming Gang channel and you dig those, by all means, please subscribe. Be sure to ring that little bell, because that will not only notify you when there's a new video up, it'll also tell you when the stream goes live. Within about 10 minutes is what I understand. I hear from a lot of people that about 10 minutes after the stream starts is when people start getting the notifications. So a lot of people pop in here like 10 minutes after the hour and start chatting. So other thing I want to point out too is, if you like the show, if you like the channel, if you go to thegaminggang.com, which a lot of people don't realize, there is an entire website that's all news and reviews, and there's a lot of stuff that does not make it on the show that's on that website. If you like any of it, please tell a friend. Tell one friend and help spread the word, because amazingly enough, I'm in my 9th year of doing this, and there are a lot of people out there who have a handful of 3-minute gaming videos with way more subscribers. But I guarantee they don't have more traffic to their websites. All right, so Robert says smoking something? No. Hey, I quit smoking, remember? I had that heart attack. I had to quit. What do you think I've put on? Like 20 pounds, for crying out loud. I was a lot thinner. when I started this show. Anyway, I got quite a bit of news today. Thankfully, I also have more images to share for the news items today. Yesterday was really weird. A lot of the stuff I was talking about, there was only one picture to share, and that was kind of a bummer. But I do want to point out that the latest Greenbrier Games expansion for the Dungeon Masterless Dark Fantasy RPG-ish board game, Folklore of the Affliction, which actually I really like a lot. You should check out my reviews. The new expansion is up for crowdfunding on Kickstarter. I've got the dope on the Fall of the Spire. Whoops. Jeez. Yes, I have to be good. Yeah, you're right, Robert. Actually, before we jump into the news, I should point out, see, I am so wrapped up in getting stuff going. Okay, so I gotta be honest, so I was watching the Cubs game right before, within minutes of starting this. So I was like, I completely forgot that today's show is sponsored by Tiny Battle Publishing. That's right. And Flying Pig Games. Yes, Mark H. Walker's double dose of action-packed excitement. Those two companies are sponsors of Wednesdays here on the Daily Dope. So they're the sponsor of Wargame Wednesday, and I happen to be reviewing Zombie War, which is from Tiny Battle Publishing. There are some titles on the horizon coming from good old Flying Pig Games. For a second, I was trying to remember if Crowbar was out yet. It is not, because I was just about to say, yeah, Crowbar is the Marines at Pointe du Hoc is supposed to be coming out soon, and I was like, no, it's not out yet, because if it was out, I would have a copy of it. Anyway, so by all means, if you are into some really cool conflict simulations, then I definitely recommend going over to flyingpiggames.com. And Tiny Battle Publishing has a lot of polybag games, and they're not all conflict simulation. There's some science fiction and things like that too, so pretty cool. All right, Paul Nolan's popping in. Hey, Paul, thanks for popping in. Yes, good evening to you as well. So, yes, it looks like Robert Moffat's waiting for Rangers at Pointe du Hoc. Is Flying Pig Mark Walker's? Yes, Flying Pig is Mark Walker's. In fact, okay, so before we jump into the news, I'll kind of share something. I'm sure Mark doesn't mind me, because I think this is, I don't necessarily know if it's common knowledge, but I know it's not something he's like a secret. Damn, it is super dry down here in the Duct Tape Studios tonight. But okay, so the question was, is Flying Pig Games Mark H. Walker's? Yes, it is. So I remember when Mark was the owner of Lock and Load, he had chatted with me at Origins. It was one of the first times I interviewed him, actually. And he had mentioned that he was kind of looking at, he wanted to do games that weren't just conflict simulation. He was looking to try to get something that was, he could do science fiction games, he could do whatever he wanted to. But Lock and Load kind of was like, it's everybody thinks Wargames. So he sold Lock and Load, and then he started up Flying Pig Games, and then followed that up with Tiny Battle Publishing. So I want to say that Flying Pig Games Mark is more hands-on with that than he is Tiny Battle Publishing, but they are both his companies. All right, so anyway, as I started to mention, I've got the dope on the expansion for Folklore of the Affliction. It is the Fall of the Spire. Here's the dope. This Kickstarter is an expansion for, what did I say before? Folklore of the Affliction, an immersive dark fantasy cooperative adventure. In this expansion, Fall of the Spire, your characters will continue the adventure through a series of stories in their quest to rid the land of evil. Advanced combat and town events will make even the return trip to civilization more perilous. In addition, the Creature Crates, a Kickstarter bonus, allows you to store all the miniatures from this campaign and previous ones. Over 7,200 backers help make this game a reality. If you already own the core game, but are ready to delve deeper into the darkness, the Squire Pledge level contains 6 full-length stories, and the Executioner has both the expansion and the new miniatures, along with a Kickstarter bonus full game storage solution. Using the narrative created by Twinfire Games as your GM guide, follow the 6 new stories to see where each adventure takes you as you level up, gather supplies, and move onward into certain danger. The next installment of stories added to your gaming library will allow you to journey further into the world of folklore. And I happen to have about a 2-minute video for the brand new expansion to Folklore, The Affliction. So let's take a peek.
Welcome, weary traveler. If only your journey had brought you to some other, more pleasant land. I pray thee, end your quest now. For the road from here is beset by horrors. Together, alone, it matters not. You will fall, but failure is only the beginning.
All right, so there you have the Fall of the Spire. Currently, the project is over 1,000% funded. Oh yeah, 1,000%. And the game itself, the core game, you do need it to get the expansion. Now, there are some different pledge levels where you can get the whole shebang, but I do want to point out, Fall of the Spire is for 1 to 5 players, ages 14 and up, and it will play, usually the adventures play in about 60 to 90 minutes per adventure chapter. As I mentioned, it's over 1,000% funded, and you can reserve a copy of the expansion and stretch goals for a $60 pledge, or grab the expansion, all stretch goals, as well as every miniature that has been released for the game, including the ones in this new expansion, for a $180 pledge, and this is through April 18th. Delivery is expected December of next year. I do have to point out, though, that at least, thankfully, Greenbrier Games does actually get their Kickstarters out there. Although, I gotta be honest, December 2020 is kind of far out. Quite a bit. But I gotta point out, Folklore The Affliction is a pretty cool game, and I reviewed it, really liked it a lot. So, Flying Pig rocks. Yes, it does. It does. And Mark Walker is super, says Robert Moffat. Yeah, Mark is a lot of fun. He's one of my favorite people in the industry that I know. But I gotta be honest, I know quite a few people, and 99% of them are actually very, very cool. All right, so normally I don't have a lot of Kickstarter news, but I do have 2 Kickstarters tonight. But I'm sure it's Wargame Wednesday. There are going to be a lot of people out there who are excited about this one because Hammer of the Scots, yes, the 3rd edition of Hammer of the Scots is up for crowdfunding on Kickstarter right now. I believe it started yesterday. I think it launched yesterday. Maybe it even launched earlier this morning. I am not positive, but here's dope. Hammer of the Scots brings the rebellion of the Braveheart, William Wallace, to life. As the English player, you seek to pacify Scotland by controlling all the important noble lords. The Scottish player also seeks the allegiance of nobles to support a difficult struggle for freedom. Hammer of the Scots will give you many hours of entertainment and insight into this fascinating period of history. Some of the highlights: there is a full-color 22-inch by 25-inch mapboard of Scotland and Northern England with heraldry of the important noble families. There are loads of wooden blocks. In fact, there are 56 hardwood counters including leaders, nobles, archers, knights, and infantry. 25 event cards, detailed game rules. There are 2 scenarios, so you can do a campaign game, or you can do the Braveheart scenario or the Bruce scenario. And the rulebook's actually really short. It's only 8 pages to learn how to play. So, of course, we do have a quick Kickstarter video. It's about 2 minutes long, and we will take a peek to see what good old Columbia Games has to say about this new edition of Hammer of the Scots.
Travel back in time to the heather moors of Scotland and relive the rebellion that forged the proud Scottish nation. A highly playable game, Hammer of the Scots brings the rebellion of the Braveheart, William Wallace, to life. The Scottish player seeks the allegiance of the important Scottish lords in a difficult struggle for freedom. The English player also seeks to control the noble lords, but the two sides must follow very different paths to succeed. This special edition of Hammer of the Scots, now available on Kickstarter, includes upgraded components, a mounted map board, new block artwork, and deluxe cards for a beautiful gameplay experience. Take the initiative and charge into one of the highest-rated wargames of all time, Hammer of the Scots.
Hammer of the Scots is for 2 players, ages 12 and up. Whoa, what did that jump up there? Yikes, that's my next news story. Slow down. Anyway, Hammer of the Scots is for 2 players, ages 12 and up, plays in about 2 to 3 hours. You can secure a copy of the game alongside any unlocked stretch goals for a $79 pledge through April 21st. There is an expected delivery of June of this year. That is a pretty fast turnaround. That's amazingly fast. That is pretty cool. So, excuse me. Damn. Got a ball of dust or something. As I inhaled, I'm like, ew, excuse me. There you go, that's better. So I'm kind of curious. So they show Wallace. They show the block counter for Wallace. I didn't see a block counter for Gromit, though. So I don't know. I don't understand. Actually, I have to admit, I have never played Hammer of the Scots. I have played some other Columbia Games titles. In fact, I've reviewed them. Stonewall as well as Julius Caesar. Really enjoyed them. I've just never had a chance to play Hammer of the Scots. So Kabuki Kid's popping in. Howdy, Kabuki Kid. So Kabuki says, I wish they offered the mounted board for Hammer of the Scots on the Kickstarter, since I already own the game and would just like the mounted map. I saw they've also got an add-on where it's a like mouse pad fabric map. I thought that sounded pretty cool too. So yeah, so here's the odd thing though. So they're talking about like stretch goals. And now this is already 800% funded, I think. So this is going to fund. It's funded already. This is going to happen. The stretch goals aren't anything to write home about. The stretch goals were like an extra set of rules, a high quality PDF of the map, like something else. I was like, really? Those are stretch goals? And they were at like $5,000, $10,000, and $15,000. So it was like, boink. All right, so moving right along. If you're a fan of the Rangers of Shadow Deep skirmish level miniatures rules, you'll be happy to know the second supplement has arrived, and I've got the dope. For weeks, the soldiers of Alador have lost nearly every battle and skirmish they've fought, and it's clear that some dark sorcery is at work. With the fate of the kingdom at stake, the Rangers are sent into the Shadow Deep to try and locate the source of this magic and end the threat. To accomplish this task, however, they must face the horrors of the Temple of Madness. Rangers of Shadow Deep Temple of Madness is a 4-scenario mission designed for level 5 to 15 Rangers. Also included in the book are new rules for magic, including a greatly expanded spell list, spellcasting heroic abilities, magical equipment, and several new companions. This is available in PDF. There is a print on demand that will be coming soon, but the 64-page Temple of Madness is available in PDF from Drive-Thru RPG for $12.99. Interestingly enough, I know Joseph A. McCullough was the creator of Frostgrave for Osprey Games, yet he came out with Rangers of Shadow Deep not too long ago. I think it's within the last 6 months. So, and he's been releasing supplements for it. I don't know if he's kind of disassociated himself with Frostgrave now, or if he's doing both. I don't know. I got to be honest, if he was doing both when he had gone through Osprey for Rangers of Shadow Deep, I have no idea. Okay, let's move on to some RPG news. Because the newest bundle of holding has arrived, and this time out it features the end-all be-all role-playing game system. I am not familiar with that at all, but if you were watching last night's show, I was talking about Greg Porter, who is the designer for Zombie War, which we're going to take a look at in a few minutes. And I don't know why Drive-Thru RPG just popped up as one of those, because it is not on Drive-Thru RPG. Hey. What the heck is that? There we go. Get rid of that. So it turns out Greg Porter is actually the designer of EABA, or at least all this stuff that is in this bundle of holding, and I've got the dope. Adventurer, this EABA bundle presents the Universal Tabletop Role-Playing Rules System, EABA, End All Be All. Designed by Greg Porter, Core's, not Core, it's Core, Time Lords. And EBA represents the simulationist school of RPG design, which aims for accurate, fine-grained modeling of a campaign universe that operates sensibly. With EABA scaling rules, you can build anything from a zip gun to a battleship and run any kind of conflict from a schoolyard fight to a superhero slugfest. The state-of-the-art interactive PDF ebooks in this bargain price collection range from steampunk to space opera, all using the same coherent, deeply thought-out system. For just $5.95, you get all 4 titles in the starter collection, retail value $57, including the complete EABA version 2.01 core rulebook, not to be mistaken for the 2.0 core book. You also get the Steampunk Martian Dinosaur Extravaganza Vern, and the beautiful Vern map set, and the post-scarcity nanotech setting GREP, all lowercase, GREP. If you pay more than the threshold price of $17.79, you'll level up and also get our entire bonus collection with 5 more supplements and campaign sourcebooks worth an additional $78. There's stuff, a comprehensive equipment construction set that lets you build anything from a penknife to an orbital bombardment platform. I'd say that's a pretty big scale there. Athos, hard science fiction, space opera, espionage, and politics aboard a colossal alien world ship. There's agency, modern magical intrigue, and a campaign where only you are real and everyone else is just scenery. Includes the 1957 companion game that puts you at the heart of the setting's early history. And then there's Eschatron, realistic super heroics in the wake of a sudden event that bestows superpowers on hundreds of thousands of people worldwide. Almost kind of like, I guess we'll say wild cards. So that is a pretty good bundle of holding, especially with the starter collection is $5.95. So that's pretty sweet. So altogether, for less than $18, you can get about $130 worth of RPG PDFs. I gotta be honest, I am not familiar with EABA End All Be All, but hey, it's designed by Greg Porter, and we know he does pretty cool war games. Hey, Vinyl Rabbit's popping in. Hey, Vinyl, good to see you. Welcome aboard. All right, and for my final news piece, the latest supplement for Conan Adventures in an Age Undreamed Of is available in print. I should say Conan. Somebody was busting my chops because it's like, it's not Conan, it's Conan. It's like, fine. Latest supplement of Conan Adventures in an Age Undreamed Of is available in print from Modiphius Entertainment, and I've got the dope on Conan the Brigand. If I'll change. Jeez, there we go. I don't like this upgrade, this update to this software here. Just does not switch out the images the way it's supposed to, the way it used to. Anyway, welcome to life outside the law. But not all men seek rest and peace. Some are born with the spirit of the storm in their blood, restless harbingers of violence and bloodshed, knowing no other path. Conan the Brigand is the complete guide to the nomadic brigands of the Hyperborean Age, providing the game master and player characters with all the resources to run campaigns that embrace the path of the brigand, or are affected by it. Here within these pages are all the resources needed to bring to life this outlaw world. There's new material to expand your Conan campaign, with brigand-themed castles, stories, backgrounds, and equipment, allowing you to create your unique brigands, nomads, and raiders. The supplement includes a gazetteer covering the kingdoms that Conan and his brigands raided. Here we go, here come the mispronunciations. Koran, Turan, and the city-state of Zambula. There's descriptions of important dignitaries and renegades of the region, including Lord Kawazim, Kings Yezdegerd, and Yildiz of Turan, Shah Amaroth, Queen Taramis, and her devilish twin sister Salome. Thankfully, I can pronounce Salome. Constantius the Hawk, Balptor, the Strangler of Yodapong, the notorious pirate Sirius of Croatia, and the roguish Zerporskan rogue Orger Vlavsov. Yeah, it is like having marbles in my mouth. Vital it is. Yikes, yikes, yikes. Also includes beasts and unnatural monsters, vultures, iron statues, desert devils, the giant rook, and the devil in iron himself, Kostalral Cal. I don't know, vultures just don't seem to go along with all of those other things, do they? Which one doesn't fit? There's also a guide to running brigand campaigns with all new rules for raiding and plunder, and brigand-themed carousing events to fill the time between raids. There's gods and magic of the nomadic tribes and lands, including cults of Erlik, Ishtar, Tarim, and Yazadi, and magic artifacts such as the legendary Tolwar of Hamir Kurum. There's a write-up of Conan during the period he lived and breathed the brigand life, along with his most notorious followers. Guidelines for running a desert nomad camp, recruiting brigands, surviving in the hostile environments of the southeast, and descriptions of the rewards and dangers of raiding. Of course, this book, like just about everything else in the Conan line, has been developed with leading Conan scholars. This is the place for Hyperborean Age desert adventure, just as Howard created it. The 120-page Conan the Brigand is available as a softcover from Modiphius Entertainment for $26.99, or available in PDF from Drive-Thru RPG for $14.99. So, do want to point out, too, that if you are going to visit, say, Drive-Thru RPG or maybe Wargame Vault, be sure to click on one of the banners over at thegaminggang.com first. That'll take you over to, say, Drive-Thru RPG. That way, if you do make a purchase, we get a small piece of that, very, very tiny piece of that. Howard was a dirty old man, says Vinyl. Don't know anything about that because Robert E. Howard did not die an old man. He was only in his 30s. Wasn't he 32? 32, 36? I don't know. I have no idea. All right, so let me jump back here before we start doing the review of Zombie War. Got to pull down good old Lil Whiz Bub because if you recall, if you watch regularly, you do know that the Gaming Gang and the Daily Dope are non-for-profit. So if you do like the website, if you like the show, please consider making a small donation to Lil Bub's Big Fund and the American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. Yes, 100% of funds raised are granted out to organizations that do care for special needs animals who are awaiting adoption. So, and I am a big proponent of animals in need. So, anyway, so that's why I bring that up. Hey, I do want to mention Lil Bub, which is, yeah, I just love that little cat. Lil Bub is actually now the cat spokes cat for Scoop Away Litter. I just saw a little ad. I was like, wow. So Lil Bub is now like on boxes of Scoop Away cat litter. So yes, Final Rabbit says he was 30 and sadly took his own life. Yes, it was, yeah, Howard had a really hard time. He was very close with his mother. And he was very close with H.P. Lovecraft as well. And Lovecraft really took his passing very hard. But Howard's mother passed away, and Howard actually walked out to his car where he had a pistol in the glove compartment, and he took the gun out and shot himself, killed himself. So his mother had died in the hospital, and then he went and committed suicide. And then, yeah, so it was, yes, he does. I like Kabuki Kid's like, he looks like Al Capone. He really does sort of look like a, you know, like a thug, like a gangster from the 30s. But there's a movie that's about him, and it is with, is it Vincent D'Onofrio? I think it's Vincent D'Onofrio plays Robert E. Howard, and oh, the actress who played Bridget Jones plays like his girlfriend. It was kind of interesting. It was kind of interesting. But yeah, actually, Howard was a pretty happy guy up until the end. So anyway, so I want to point out, if we have enough time, I don't know if we will or not, we might get a chance to take a first look at Sticks and Stones tonight. But I'm not sure if we are going to have enough time. So we'll try to get this in. If not, sorry, don't know what to tell you. Okay, so what's coming up on the show this week and next week? So tomorrow, it's Thursday. I love doing RPGs on Thursdays, so I am going to review John Carter of Mars from my friends over at Modiphius Entertainment. So that is on tomorrow's show. This is the collector's slipcase. So I'm going to review the core rules and the first supplement that are included in this. Now, I did get a package today with some items that I was really looking forward to getting. So I've kind of switched things up a little bit from what I originally had planned. So on Friday's show, I am going to unbox and take a first look at Wildlands, which is from Martin Wallace. This is a miniatures game from Martin Wallace. It is from Osprey Games. So not only do I have this to take a look at, I also have a couple of expansions. So I've got the Adventuring Party and the Unquiet Dead. So I will be taking a look at these on Friday's show. So I pushed back my review of Kanban. Not too badly. It'll be next week. Then on Monday, another title that I've really been looking forward to, The Cursed Earth. Yes, I am a huge fan of the Lost Expedition. My nephew Cameron really digs that too. We really like the expansion that came out for it. Well, they've ported that system over to one of the most famous story arcs from Judge Dredd, The Cursed Earth, or The Cursed Earth. So that will be on Monday. And then on Tuesday, I will review Kanban. Oh, yes, Kanban. Then on Wednesday next week, so I've got things plotted out fairly well. I have to double check I have to double check, but I don't think I know I've reviewed it. I don't think I ever did an unboxing video for Empire of the Sun. I may have, I may not have. I mean, with 500 plus videos, I think I'm at 520 videos. Plus there's like 535 or 540 reviews on the Gaming Gang. Sometimes I forget what I've done and what I haven't done. So I will take a look to see if we did a video of that a couple of years ago. So, saw Judge Dredd played. Great solo game. Yeah, that's one of the things I like about the Lost Expedition too, is a really, really fun solo game. All right, so let's jump on into good old Zombie War, which is from Tiny Battle Publishing. It's designed by Greg Porter. Why we keep hearing that guy's name, don't we? The game is for 2 to 4 players, ages 12 and up. Plays in around an hour to an hour and a half. It's available polybagged from Tiny Battle Publishing for $26. It's usually $30, or you can get it for $10 if you want to do print and play from Wargame Vault. So let's head on over to the other camera. I have this way zoomed out. Really, really zoomed out here because I kind of wanted to do the map so we had the map kind of facing the right way. I am going to zoom in on this as well. So Robert Moffat says, love Wednesdays. Yeah, because it's always, yeah, if you're kind of a grown-yard, then you're like, yeah, sweet. All right, so first off, we got the rules here. Rules are pretty short, about, 8-10 pages or so. Big font, fairly easy to understand. There were a couple of things where it's kind of like, huh? But not terrible. But one of the things is almost all the information that's actually in this rule book are on cards or actually on the game map itself. So you really don't need to consult this all that often, except for maybe a little bit of how do you do stuff? How do you do things? Okay? But after a while, I mean, you'll figure it out. So, obviously enough, Zombie War is a American Civil War game. So yeah, no, it's in your head. It's in your head. Zombie, zombie, zombie. Good old Cranberries. Of course, obviously enough, it is a zombie game, but it's really different. It's very, very different than other zombie games because it's a big strategic level game, first of all. So it's not the typical, hey, we've got these characters and we're trying to defend a location, or maybe we're trying to defend a town, or even with Dead Reckoning, which is a zombie game from Tiny Battle Publishing that I really, really do like. I love how my wallet's just sitting out here on this table. Which was a town, but it was still kind of a kind of pulled back. You weren't just controlling individual heroes and stuff against zombies. Well, here what you're doing is you're actually controlling the forces of the world who are attempting to turn back the undead, these Zeds. So we're going to kind of tour the map. I'm going to zoom in to get a closer look of this as well. But as we take a look at the map, if you take a peek here, so we've got the world is here, but it's kind of oddly laid out, right? So it's sort of like, here's the United States, here's the United Kingdom, here's France up here, there's Russia, China's like an island. So I understand what they're trying to do. What they're trying to do is they're trying to set these up as like these are like nations, right? It's not necessarily set up exactly like a geographic map would be. So there are connections between these different locales. So this is how your units, how the humans are going to move, and it's how these zombies will actually expand, kind of spread out from various different locations. Robert Moffat says, don't get me wrong, I love all the shows. I'm just a historical war gamer, so I don't have too many nimble games. Not sure what a nimble game is. I don't know. Yes, Vinyl, you're right. It is very strange geography. Do not try to teach your children geography based on this game map. Okay, so we got that. I have actually populated this the way the game will start off. So you need a couple of 6-sided dice. So you can actually start off with some zombies popping up. And we got a threat level that we have to worry about. We have to worry about zombies being on the board, and we don't have any units to take care of them. Justin Perez says, looks boring. Not really. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be, everybody's cup of tea is a little bit different, but this I found to be pretty interesting, and I'll get to that in just a little bit. So just kind of touring the board here. The game is for 2 to 4 players. I gotta be really honest, this game is for 4 players. As a 2-player game, we didn't care for it. I'll explain why when I do my summary. But you want to get 4 players. If you're going to be playing Zombie War, you definitely want to get 4 players. So you're going to have, each of the players are going to have their own victory point marker in different colors. We got those right there, so we're going to pop those there. We got a scoring track that runs down the side. So 1 to 30. We show the game setup. It talks about military actions. We've got our threat levels. And then it talks about how do zombies spread. So as I mentioned, a lot of the information that's in the rule book is on the game board. It's also going to be on cards too. So what I'm going to do now is I am going to zoom in. Let's zoom on in so we can get a better look. And I will show off, for an example, some of the cards. So the prospect of the game is when we've got 4 players, there are 4 different roles that are going to be performed by the players. So we have the government. We have, here, I'll show you right here. We got corporations. We got the military. We've got the government. And we've got zombies. So with 4 players, each player is going to start off with one of these roles for the turn. So you're going to start off, you're going to have one of these roles, and everybody's going to get a chance to take on these roles as you play. Now, in the game itself, you're probably only going to have each of these roles 3 to 4 times in the game. So you're going to start off, each player is going to have a region victory condition, and they're going to have a faction victory condition. So these are secret victory condition cards. So if you can fulfill either one of these cards, then you're going to win. So kind of give you an idea. I'm going to put my reading specs back on. So here, this is a faction victory government, 12 victory points or more. So it says you win if at the end of a round you have a score of 12 or more, and at least 2 of the political capitals are protected by medical units or military units of strength 2 or higher. So that's kind of an example of one of them. We've got faction victory corporate. You'll need 12 victory points or more on your track. It says that you'll win if at the end of a round you have a score of 12 or more, and at least 2 of the financial capitals are protected by medical units or military units of strength 2 or higher. We've got terrorists. It's like, what? It says you win at the end of a round if you score, you have 15 or more, and at least 2 of 3 of Beijing, Washington, and Moscow have been infested with zombies. It's like, what? There's a zombie faction victory. You win if at the end of a round you have a score of 15 or more, and at least 1 of Europe, Russia, China, India, Africa, Australia, or United States has only zombies in it. So you've got a military victory. Isolationist. You win if at the end of the round you have 15 or more victory points, and at least 2 of 3 of Chengdu, Wellington, and Anchorage have military units of at least strength 2. It's like, oh, okay. What happened to Canada? Yeah, exactly. It's right there. They get Ottawa and Vancouver. And it is Vancouver, Canada, not Vancouver, Washington. So if you notice, we'll see it'll show, okay, so that's the country that it represents. This doesn't really matter at all. But I'm going to pull this map down a little bit so I can show you. So if we look at Japan, so you're going to see there's a colored band. We've got colored bands around some of the cities. So this is Tokyo. We see that there's this little circle with a slash through it. At a certain point, if we get up to threat level 5 with the zombies infestation with the Zeds, we get an opportunity. The military player, it's an opportunity to start using tactical nukes. So, but it's showing that we cannot use nukes in Tokyo. So there's a few different cities that are going to show that you can't utilize that. Now, as far as the colors, we see red is a political capital, blue is a financial capital, and green are trade hubs. So in this game, Tokyo is considered a trade hub. If we go pull this a little further down, if we look at Beijing, Beijing is a capital. And then if we go Shanghai, for an example. No, wait. No, London. Sorry. And New York. Let me move these over. Try to swing on over here. There you go. So we got New York. That is a financial hub. So these cities actually count for specific things that you're able to do. So let's take a look here at. We've got two different cards here that are kind of they're like play aids. So we've got scoring on one side, sequence of play on the other. So depending on what role that each of the players has is going to determine what they're able to do. I like tactical nuke as an oxymoron. That's right. So Robert says, did I accidentally drop acid before watching this? Because of the map? Is the map freaking you out? Yes, Anchorage is near Seattle. I thought everybody knew that. All you gotta do is take that little ferry. Not. Anyway, so it shows us the sequence of play. It also shows us the scoring. But each of the players are also going to have a regional victory card. So remember, you get two. You're going to get two of these cards. So you're going to get a faction victory and you're going to get a region victory. So for an example, you got China, South America, Australia, Europe. Then it's going to show you this is how many victory points you need to have on that track before you can even really bother to start looking at this. So you win if at the end of the round you have a score of 15 or more and 2 adjacent regions in Russia are zombie-free and protected by military units of at least a strength of 2. United States, third world. So as an example here, let's say maybe I get my cards and I get government and I get Europe. When I'm playing, I am going to be trying my best to fulfill these conditions. Now remember, one of the players every turn is going to be the zombie player as well. So that can be pretty interesting too. Because as a zombie player, you're still looking to get victory points, but you may not necessarily want to do too much as far as making the worm turn for the Zeds as opposed to the humans. So we get a sequence of play, and to be honest, it's easier for us to actually look at what each of these can do from these cards. So the first player is going to be the government player. So let's get, we got some zombies. These are irradiated zombies. Yep, if you try to nuke them. So the kind of counters we're going to be utilizing quite a bit of, we've got medics. We've got military units with different strengths. We've got zombies of different strengths as well. So these are the units that we're going to use most of the time. So the first player is a government player. So the first player is able to do up to 3 of the following actions. They can do all but the first one more than once. So whatever they choose to do first, they can't do again. So they can alter the threat level plus 1 or 2. Up or down 1 or 2. Now let's look at the threat level. I'm just going to take these zombies off where I had them placed because we're going to stay zoomed in for the most part. Okay, so here's the threat level. So we start off at threat level 1, which is a quarantine. So our maximum military strength is 1, and we cannot perform any offensive actions against the zombies. We have threat level 2, which is a blockade. Maximum military strength of 2, no offensive action authorized. We need to be up to threat level 3, containment, when we can actually send troops to fight the zombies. Now, the zombies can try to spread into areas that troops are in, but we can't go and start attacking the zombies until we get to threat level 3. Got threat level 4, eradication. Maximum military strength is up to 4 now. It started off at 3. Then we get to threat level 5, desperation. Maximum military strength of 4, military nuclear force authorized against any region except capitals and trade hubs. As I mentioned before, that's where we see these little circles with the slash through them. So to kind of give you an idea, right? So let's say, as an example, that let's bring LA into the scheme of things. Let's say LA was one of the outbreak locations. What's the big evil eye on the towers? Sauron? Yes. Yeah, didn't you know? Sauron deals with the undead. He's a necromancer. Okay, so let's say this is one of the outbreaks, because there is actually a game setup table on here that you roll the die and you're going to put strength level 3 zombies on 4 different areas, and that's where they're going to spread from. So we start off at threat level 1. So we get the government player, right? So the government player can alter the threat level up 1 or down 1. They can place or move a medical unit. They can upgrade a medical unit to an armed medical unit. They can attack an adjacent zombie with an armed medical unit if the threat level is 3 or higher, once per unit per turn. Now we see that there's scoring down here. So each round, each time, let's say I had the role of the government, I score victory points by not altering the threat level. So if I don't change the threat level, I get a victory point. If I reduce the threat level by 1, I get 2 victory points. If I'm able to protect a political center, which basically means I have troops. Let's say Los Angeles was my political center here. If I had troops or medical teams, making sure let's get that centered a little bit so you can see it. So anything that would lead into, let's say, LA, right? This is just as an example how you protect something. If I have military or medical units in areas that connect to this, then it's considered protected. So if I had, say for like an example there, just like so, now Los Angeles is protected. I got a military unit up here. Because the zombies can't just move on in to here. So that's how you protect something. Protecting an area. So if I protect a political capital, then I get a victory point. If I expand the protected political capital area, I get a victory point. And if I eradicate a zombie, I get a victory point. Yeah, Chicago is in Wisconsin. Didn't you know that? We moved. We decided, we wanted a little colder. We considered moving all the way up to Minnesota, but took a pass. Yeah, there you go. Robert's like, yeah, or Minnesota. So when you're playing as the government is kind of looking to keep everybody calm, don't worry. You know, and that's why they're trying to bring the threat level down or keep the threat level where it's at. So interestingly enough, even though the players are all trying to survive the zombie apocalypse, you're really looking to try to come out on the other side of it like, oh, well, I made the biggest impact. That's what these victory cards are about, right? I made the biggest impact. We survived the zombies. Now, of course, if you were a player and you had the zombie faction victory point card, then you'd be like, oh, I'm going to really try to go all out as the zombies. So, okay, so we get the government player. They get to go first, and they get to do those things. Then we get the military player. And the military player is kind of at odds with the government player. So here it says you can do up to 3 of the following actions. You can place a strength 1 military unit. So you could basically take a military unit and we could place it in Vancouver, right? And this is anywhere. You can put these anywhere on the map, anywhere on the board. You can be placing these. So I can say, okay, I'm going to place a 1 there. So I can do any of these 3 times. Now remember, at threat level 1, we're limited with our military strength of our units can only be 1. I can move a military unit to an adjacent location, so that's another action. I can attack an adjacent zombie if the threat level is 3 or higher, once per unit per turn. So, for the military, if I protect a travel hub, so remember, a travel hub is the blue. Oh no, wait a second. Is it the blue? And green is financial? Let me go back. Yeah, green is the travel hub, blue is financial, and red is the political capital. All right, so if I'm able to protect a travel hub, so for an example, if I were able to protect New York, if I'm able to protect New York, remember, if I just have units that are surrounding any of the entries into New York, then I'm good, then I'm fine. I can expand if I expand from that protection, right? So if I move further out, so say I had the protection here and I moved it out to here, but I still have New York protected, I would score victory points. If I eradicate a zombie unit, I get 2 victory points. And if I'm able to contain a zombie, which basically means same thing as like protecting something, if I surround an area with military units, then I have contained them. I get the victory points. So, like I said, the military is trying to get the threat level higher because you're going to need to have more than strength 1 military units attacking the zombies, because right off the bat, the zombies get their strength of 3. So after that, next we get the corporate player. And the corporate player is just kind of trying to like protect financial areas, and strangely enough, they're trying to experiment on the zombies too. So it says you can do up to 3 of the following actions. You can do each no more than once. So you can only do each of these 1 time. So you can place or move a medical unit. You can upgrade a medical unit to an armed medical unit. You can attack an adjacent zombie with a military unit if the threat level is 3 or higher. You can upgrade a zombie. You can expand a zombie. Or you can attempt to smuggle a zombie. So, the scoring is if you protect an economic capital, 1 victory point. If you expand it, 1 victory point. If you contain a zombie, 2 victory points. If you smuggle a zombie, you get 1 victory point. Smuggling a zombie, essentially, we're going to go over to the game setup chart. You're going to roll a 6-sided die. Which, got one right here. All right, here we go. So, 4. So, I would look to put a 1 strength zombie in Washington or London or Sydney or Pretoria. If there's nothing there already, then I put a strength 1, and that is considered smuggling the zombie. So I would have smuggled the zombie and I would get a victory point. If something's already there, even if it's zombies, then I have not smuggled it and it's a failure. I fail at that action. So the corporate player is kind of playing both ends, right? They're kind of playing military. They're trying to prevent a complete catastrophe, but they're also messing with zombies too. So that's kind of interesting as well. Then we've got the zombie player. So what the zombie player can do is they can upgrade a zombie. Now, anytime it tells you to upgrade something, you're basically adding 1 to the strength. So I can go to a strength of 4. Okay, so that would be upgrading the zombie. If I expand, so expanding into another region is basically, you're going to look at the number here. So we got a 4, we got a 3, we got a 3, down here's another 3. So what this means is the strength of the zombie in the area that's connecting to these. If I wanted to spread out into Vancouver with the zombies, I have to have a strength of at least 3 to be able to do that. If I only had a strength 1 zombie, I can't spread out. I can't expand the zombies, because what's basically going on is the zombies are just kind of overflowing, right? They're just kind of spreading out from the zombies don't actually go on the attack. So, yep, listen, I picked the wrong week to stop sniffing glue. So Jimmy, have you ever been in the cockpit of an airplane before? If I'm playing the government, I'm reintroducing geography in the school system. Mandatory. But Robert, you're only going to get a chance to play the military or the government 1 round at a time. If I try to smuggle a zombie, wouldn't he just eat you? I guess so. Okay, so you can try to expand into another area. You can upgrade your zombie, of course, and you can attempt to smuggle a zombie. Those are the options that you're available to do. So, it's kind of interesting how the military actions work too, and I'll get to that in just a second. So, as far as the scoring goes, if I expand into an empty region, if there's nothing there, so for an example, let's say I was at 4, and I expanded out to Vancouver, you're going to put a 1 there, right? So, yeah, just kind of overflowing into there. I would get a victory point. If I expand into a medical unit, right? So let's say we had a medical unit here that's trying to contain this. Well, they don't have a strength. So zombies automatically would go in and boop, they're gone. Sorry. Womp womp. Because they don't have any attack. They have no strength. Now, remember, we can upgrade them, but they can only ever have a 1. That's as strong as they get because they're medics. They're medical teams are what they're trying to do. But let's say, for an example, we had. Let's move. Let's go someplace where we got. Here we go. Okay, so from Denver to Chicago, right? Let's say we had a 4, and we had a military 1. Okay, military 1 protecting Chicago, and the zombie player wants to expand out. So in combat, you're going to roll six-sided dice, right? So whoever's the zombie player is going to roll for the zombies. Whoever is so for an example, if you're like the military player, then you're the one who gets to roll the dice. It's kind of up in the air on how you go about it. But like if you're attacking, if you're the active player attacking, you get to roll your die, and the zombie player gets to roll to defend. So all you do is you basically roll a 6-sided die. You're going to add the strength. So for an example, a 3 for both. So that was a 3 there. So that's a 7. That's a 4. We also have a 2 here. So that actually helps with us. But remember, they can expand out because It's just got to be higher than this, equal to, or higher. So they would actually defeat the military here. They lose a step. They're gone. And then we would get to expand outward into Chicago. And that would get us 2 victory points. Because we're expanding, I should say it gets us 3 victory points because we've expanded into an area that has a military unit. It's 2 victory points if we expand into a medical unit. And of course, if we smuggle the zombies, we get 1 victory point. So that is basically the different roles that you're going to have in the game. And of course, then we got right here, if we flip it over, we've got our combat reference. It tells you exactly what's going on. So an attack, military or armed medical, roll a d6 plus your strength, right? So if we had medical 1, it's a strength of 1. So we would add 1 to our 6-sided die, right? So that'd be like a 3. Zombie gets a d6 plus their strength on defense. So if the attacker wins, the zombie is eliminated. So the zombie counter is eliminated, regardless of the strength of the zombie counter. If the zombie wins, it's -1 to the attack. Zombie gets +1. So let's say the military attacked the zombies. Let's say they went from Chicago. Let's get a decent strength. They went from Chicago and they're attacking Denver. They're attacking the zombies in Denver. But they lost. So they would actually lose a point of strength. And the zombies actually will gain a point of strength. So it's basically the attackers have been turned into zombies. And yes, Pinky has come downstairs to caterwaul. She's been really complaining all day long. It's just pretty funny. All day long, she's been carrying on. Yes, Pinky, just have something to eat. Be quiet, thank you. So if it's a tie, then there's no effect. So if you expand, if empty zombie expands, put a strength 1 zombie in the region. If defended and a zombie can expand there, eliminate the medical, place 1 strength zombie. If armed or military defense, once again, you're rolling a 1d6 and plus strength, and the defender is rolling 1d6. If the zombie wins, you get to place the strength 2 zombie. If the defender wins, then the zombie loses a point of strength. That's only on expanding. Zombie killing a unit, add 1 to the threat level. So that's how the threat level goes up. So the threat level goes up pretty easily. Usually the only way to bring the threat level back down is from the government. And a lot of times a government player wants to bring that threat level down because they're going to get those victory points. Those sweet, sweet victory points. So what's cool about the game, and I'm going to zoom out a little bit. There we go. There we go. Just zoom out a wee bit. What I thought was actually pretty cool about the game is the different victory conditions. So each game's going to be different, how somebody's going to approach the game. I like that aspect of it. I thought that's very cool. So it's always different, and you got 2 ways to actually win. Now, you can lose. You basically lose if there are no military units or medical units left on the board. So if it's only zombies, then everybody loses, unless you were the zombie player. So if you have that, I shouldn't say zombie player. If you had a zombie win condition, even though it really doesn't say that that's your win condition, but we assume if you've got the zombie win condition, if the zombies win, then you win. But so you can lose by not having any military units or medical units on the board at the end of a round. But you can also automatically win if there are no zombie units left on the board. Now, if you have not completed your victory condition for either the region or the faction, you can still win if you happen to have the most victory points. Because you can still score victory points So for an example, like this says this is 12 victory points on this card. Well, even if you have 13 victory points or more, 12 or more, I should say, if you haven't gotten this special condition, you can't automatically win. You cannot trigger the win condition. So you can eventually play the game where you've wiped out all the zombies, but none of the players have actually gotten their win conditions from either the faction or the region cards. So you still would have a winner based on the number of victory points scored when that ends. But like I said, one of Cameron's friends was telling me, he's like, because we lost. One game we lost, the zombies, we didn't have anybody left on the board, and there were only zombies left. And they were like, well, it should still be whoever's got the most victory points is the winner. And I'm like, no, that's not how it works. So, other things I like about it. I like the counters. The counters are really nice. I had a quibble before, and I know Herman Luttman and Mark H. Walker, kind of busted my chops a little bit when I did a review. I want to say it was for, Invaders from Dimension X. And I thought the counters were really thin. I mean, they were super, super thin. These are pretty good. These are pretty good thickness, and they're cut really nicely. Now, I pointed this out before. I am not the kind of guy who goes and, trims my counters and stuff like that. I don't have time for that. So, sorry. Yeah, I know a lot of people just watch movies and stuff like that, or just throw something on TV while they're trimming their counters. But no, I just... But these popped out really nicely. They're pretty well centered. Some of them are a little close to the bottom here, but not terrible. Not terrible at all. So component-wise, I thought it's pretty nice for being a polybag game. And this is a nice paper map, paper board. It's got a little bit of a coating on it, a little bit of a sheen to it. So Vinyl says, Invaders from Dimension X is excellent. Yeah, it's a blast, isn't it? It really is. It's very chaotic. And Herman Luttman credits me with inspiring him to do that game. I think I've mentioned this before. At one point, because Herman and I always talk about chaos being king, because when Herman was designing a lot of stuff for Victory Point Games is real big on chaos, a lot of randomness, which I'm in favor of. I know some people hate that in their games. I like it because, for one, keeps you on your toes, and two, it really helps with replayability, as long as it's not completely crazy random. So I had said to Herman one time, I want to say this may even been at Origins or Consim World Expo. I said, yeah, Herman, I said, I'd like to see you design a game that's just all chaos. And sure enough, that's what Invaders from Dimension X is. So, in the end, what do I think of Zombie War? As a 4-player game, really, really like it. I really like the fact that every turn you are going to have a different role. So let's say you start off as the military. All 4 players are going to each get a role to start off with, and then you're just going to hand the cards over to the next player. You're just going to shift. So on the first round, I might be military and be sitting there going, crap, there's not a whole lot I can do. Except maybe I can drop off, start off some military units, some small military units that can grow to start off the game. Then maybe I'm the corporate player. Then I'm the corporate player on the next round. Now I got to kind of do some, corporate stuff. Then maybe I'm the government player. So now I gotta change my style for that round and play the government player. And it's interesting too, because there's times that you actually have to play and make decisions in a round that are not necessarily beneficial to you at that moment, but keeps you in the game. Because as I pointed out before, if there's only Zeds on the map, everybody loses. So sometimes you gotta kind of go against what is in the best interest for you winning the game. But you can always score victory points. So that's one of the really important things too. Is you can always score victory points no matter what role you have, and the different region and faction victory condition cards are mainly based on victory points. Now there's like a special condition in there that are some are easier, some are more difficult. But I love that fact where you're always on your toes. You're not just I'm not always going to be the military player every round. It's going to switch up, and it's kind of cool that you get to be the zombie player too. And you would think that you'd be like, no, I don't want to do anything because remember, zombies take over and stuff. Everybody loses, but you score victory points for the zombies, and you can score big victory points too, especially if you can take out like a military unit. If you can expand where there's a military unit, that's 3 victory points. So you'd be surprised when you're the zombie player. You're actually rooting for the zombies when you're playing them for that round. So I like all of those things. A couple of things I'm not too keen on. I don't really think this works as a 2-player game because each turn you're going to have 2 rolls. So each round you would have 2 rolls. So you kind of try to work it out where it's like, okay, so in a 2-player game, I've got the first player, and then I've got the government, and then I've got the commerce, and then the other player has the military and the zombies. I just don't think it's as fun with 2 players. Cam and I did play it. I mean, it's okay. It's all right. It's not terrible, but it shines as a 4-player game. It really, really works the best with 4 players because then each round, each player is making decisions. Robert Moffat says, sounds like a coin game. Each player is playing asymmetrical. Each role that you play is asymmetrical. That is true. Coin, of course, is way more complex. But like I said, I don't think it works all that well as a 2-player game because you just seem to have too much control over what you can be doing in basically each round because you've got 2 roles that you're taking on as opposed to just having the one. Other aspect I'm not super keen on is it does carry an MSRP of $30. You can get it for $26. I think that's just a touch high. Just a touch high. I'd like to see this coming in around like $23, somewhere around there. I mean, for $10 print and play, if you're comfortable with doing print and play and you can print out some, fairly thick counters, not just paper counters that you'd be cutting out. This is a steal for $10. I mean, it really is a steal for $10. Even regardless with my 2 small critiques, they're very small. I give Zombie War a very, very solid 8.9 out of 10. And remember, I dinged it a little bit because I don't think it works as well as a 2-player game. And I think it's a couple of bucks a little too high. But other than that, I loved it. I really did. I really enjoyed it a lot. So that is it. Those are Steve Jackson prices. Are we talking Steve Jackson as far as his? Hey, we're gonna bring back our clamshell games. For what are they like the Kickstarter? They had the clamshells and they were like $25 each. It was like what? It was like those were like $6 back in the day. And you're gonna charge. Okay, so before we wrap up the show, I have a love-hate relationship with Steve Jackson Games. If you watched the Daily Dope, you've probably heard me refer to this before. I have a love relationship because there's so many games that came out when I was just getting into games, right? When I was like a freshman in high school, I had Raid on Iran. I had One Page Bulge. I picked up Car Wars when it was a little Ziploc polybag game, which people argue that no, it was a clamshell. It's like, no, that originally came out as a polybag game. If I remember right, I think it was like $3.95. Yeah, Ogre, Paul Nolan saying, I've given Steve Jackson a lot of money over the years. Yeah, GEV, all that stuff. So even Melee and Wizard, I had both those individual ones. I had all those like fantasy trip little box adventures that were like you could run it, kind of play it solitaire, and they had like contests. They had a silver dragon, and they had a golden unicorn or something like that. Car Wars, we had all Car Wars stuff. So yeah, so there's that love aspect, right? I got love. The hate aspect I've got for them is they're a ripoff now. And I don't hate Munchkin. Munchkin's fun. I think Munchkin's fun. But for an example, like we're talking about the Kickstarter for the clamshell games. Not making any changes to them. He's just going to reprint them, make the clamshells, and was going to sell them for $20. The Fantasy Trip. That whole Fantasy Trip Kickstarter, same thing. Steve Jackson wasn't going to do any work on it, maybe a little bit, but for the most part, it's just stuff that hasn't been in print for a long time. And I got to be honest, the Fantasy Trip is not a very good role-playing game system. Not at all. Even if you're into old school Renaissance like I am, it's not that great. So I think they're kind of ripping people off on a lot of stuff, basically saying, hey, pay 3 times as much as what this was back in the day, and we'll give you what was like $6 back in the day. Other aspect is they used to have me interview them all the time at the various different conventions. They always wanted me to get the news out and stuff like that. And I never once ever got a review copy of something from Steve Jackson Games. Ever. And they always use this excuse at the conventions. Well, we really don't have a store set up here. So-and-so is actually in charge of selling our shit. And I was like, well, then fuck you. I'm not doing an interview. That's what I finally said. I didn't actually drop the F-bomb on them, but I said, no, the hell with you. Last time I was invited to do an interview, I was like, no, absolutely not. I am tired of providing free publicity for you, free advertising for you, and you've never given me nothing. Not even a promo card for Munchkin. So, yes. Hey, Nefarious is popping in a little late here. Yay, good to see you, Nefarious. Yeah, Fantasy Trip looks damn pricey for a simple tactical battle game. Yeah. Yes, that is right. That is correct. For like $5 more, you can get Call to Adventure. Yeah, actually, Call to Adventure we liked. We did like it. I think it's another one of those games where it's not going to appeal to everybody, especially Call to Adventure to me is if you play role-playing games and stuff, you can create the kind of story and tell a little story as you're playing it, you're going to really enjoy it. If you're not, if you're like cut and dried, you got to have like everything laid out for you. Maybe you're not very imaginative. You may not be so keen on that game. But yeah, we did enjoy that. All right, so that is it for today's show. As I mentioned, where did I put that now? Like I said, I told you I got things piled up all over the place. Anyway, on tomorrow's show, I will be reviewing John Carter of Mars from Modiphius Entertainment. I'm going to give you a clue. I really liked it. To me, I'm not. I think if you watch the Daily Dope, you already know I'm not super into. Oh, let me study these mechanics. Oh, because I throw a lot of stuff out, anyways, mechanically. But really interesting. So if you're into RPGs, be sure to stop by tomorrow. Anyway, all right. Kind of enjoyed the original GURPS and Pocket Car Wars back in the day. Latest GURPS. Yeah, I heard GURPS is just good. GURPS is sort of like a bad word now. I hear a lot of people knocking GURPS. I remember classic GURPS back in the day. I had a ton of GURPS stuff, and I never ran GURPS. I'm one of these game masters where I just have tons and tons of stuff just to read for like inspiration. Tons of systems that I'm like, I'm not running it, but I'll read through the books. Anyway, all right, so that is it for today's show. Like I always tend to point out, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, and hopefully you are a subscriber already to the Gaming Gang channel, but when you're not watching videos on the channel, please go visit thegaminggang.com for all the latest in gaming news, reviews, comics, movies, TV. By now you know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Once again, everybody in chat, thank you very much for joining me once again. Kind of hanging out and, just, doing our thing, right? It's just, it's not brain surgery by any stretch of the imagination. Anyway, I will be back tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday night. And as always, thank you very much for watching. Thanks again for watching The Daily Dope, presented by The Gaming Gang. If you like this episode, be sure to give it a quick thumbs up. And if you dig the channel, please subscribe. If you'd like to check out our previous episode, click right here. And if you want to check out a somewhat randomly selected episode, give a click right down here. It'll be like opening a box of Cracker Jacks. You just don't know what you'll get. Once again, thanks for watching, and I'm Jeff McAleer.